Okay, so we are at the final stage of the elementary algebra set Z midpoint and distance formula. Right. So just to give you a brief on distance and midpoint formula, yeah, what do they represent on the XY plane? So suppose you got your y-axis here and your x-axis here, and if you got 2 points, let's say point A out here, and let's say point B out here. And if we join these 2 points, yeah, then we have a line segment, you could say. Yeah. So usually a midpoint is a midpoint, like the center point that divides the line segment AB into two equal halves, right? What we are here is to find out the coordinate of this point on a two-dimensional XY plane. This is your y-axis. This is your x-axis. This is the origin, 0, 0. So this 0 is the x coordinate and this is the y coordinate. So suppose let's say A was positive 4 and positive 5. Let's say 4 on the x, 5 on the y. And out here, okay, let's say your x was negative 5 and the y was positive 4. Yeah. Then knowing these two coordinates of these 2 points A, B, how do we find out the midpoint M, this one, the coordinates of this M out here? How do we find that out? So we simply add the two x coordinates of A and B correspondingly. So let me call it A and B, yeah, and divide by 2. And similarly, we simply add up the two y coordinates, the corresponding points on A and B, and divide by 2. And that's about it. That's how we find out the midpoints, yeah, of the coordinates of the midpoint M for the line segment AB. And then that's all there is to this, yeah. Okay. So if we apply this formula, yeah, then we have negative 5, positive 4 divided by 2. And then we have positive 4 and positive 5 divided by 2. So that gives me negative 1 over 2 and it gives me 9 over 2. So that's my x coordinate of the midpoint and y coordinate of the midpoint. And as you can see, if this was 1, then the x coordinate is, it was negative 1, then x coordinate is negative half. And if you look at this is 5 and this is 4 and 9 by 2 is somewhere here, which is 4.5. 9 by 2 is 4.5, and that's correct. So the freehand drawing, yeah, is pretty much accurate for this particular example that I've taken. And that's how you find out the midpoint. So now the question begs to arise is that what is the distance, yeah, between the 2 points A and B on the line segment AB? So the distance formula, by the way, represents the Pythagoras theorem, right? So, for example, I've drawn the red line segment, which is not exactly horizontal. It is, slightly tilted. Yeah. So if I were to use a straight line, yeah, and form a right triangle like this, okay, then what do I get? And how is the Pythagoras theorem coming in the picture, right? So Pythagoras theorem is applicable to right triangles. Okay, and as you can see, this distance over here to here is, you can say, the the displacement in the height, that is the y-axis, the change in the y-axis. Okay, so what is the change in the y-axis from point 4 on the y-coordinate of B? It goes to 0.5 on the y-coordinate of A. So there's a jump of 1 unit for the y-axis. Understood? Yeah, so we can say this is 1, as in the distance between the vertical distance between point A and point B is 1. Yeah. Similarly, the horizontal distance is from -5 to +4, and that's a displacement of 9 units. So therefore, the x part is 9 units. Got it? Yeah. And that we can assume to be, if I were to draw a neat right triangle out here like this, this is my right triangle out here. Yeah. This is my hypotenuse, and my legs are 1 and 9. So according to the Pythagoras theorem, the hypotenuse square, so let's call it AB because it's AB out here, the whole thing squared is equal to square of the legs, 1 square and 9 square. And hence, if I want to find out the distance between the points AB, I'll take the square root of 1 square and 9 square, which is square root of 81 plus 1, 82. And that's my distance formula. As you can see, applying Pythagoras theorem. So now let me give you the distance formula. It is given as d is equal to root of x2 minus x1 the whole square. In this case, it is xb minus xa, yeah, or xa minus xb, plus y2 minus y1 the whole square, which is obviously yb minus ya, or ya minus yb. The order doesn't matter because they both are getting squared, and then taking the square root of the whole thing. So that's your distance formula, and that's your midpoint formula, and that's what we are going to do with the remaining exercise in this worksheet. Yeah. So that's nothing but x2 minus x1 is more like, your 9 square, and y2 minus y1 is nothing but your 1 square. And if you realize this portion out here, it is representing Pythagoras theorem. Yeah, the moment you remove the square on AB and you get a square root on the other side of the equal to sign, it represents the distance formula in a nutshell. Okay, so let's quickly now solve question 1, which is midpoints, and question 2, which is distance formula. Okay, yeah, so that's your formula. Have a quick look at it. Yeah, remember, addition takes place out here, and then subtraction takes place out here, and the remaining squaring and adding part, you need to figure it out. Okay, just remember Pythagoras and you won't go wrong out here. And out here, remember the midpoint, meaning you take the average of the two x points and the average of the two y points. Okay, all right, so you got point A, point B. Yeah, okay, and we'll solve the first 5 together. Yeah, there it is. Sorry, first 5. There it is. Okay, okay, so we start from here. A, yeah, so 3 plus 8 divide by 2, comma, 4 minus 9 divide by 2. Okay, right, x1 plus x2 by 2, see the formula. Yeah, so 11 by 2 and -5 by 2. So that's my midpoint, yeah, of the question that they have put out here. Yeah, find the midpoint of the segment with following endpoints. Okay, yeah. So that's negative 2.5, and that's positive 5.5. Okay, that's your answer. B. 4 plus 2 divide by 2 minus 8 plus 4 divide by 2. So you got 6 by 2 and you got negative 4 by 2. That's negative 2 and 3. C. 9 minus 4 divide by 2. 1 plus 0 divide by 2. So that's 5 by 2 and half. Yeah, that's your answer. D. 0 plus 2 divide by 2. 3 plus 0 divide by 2. So that's 2 over 2 and 3 by 2. So that's 1 and 1.5. E. 0 plus 7 divide by 2 minus 4 plus 7 divide by 2. So that's 7 over 2 and you got 3 over 2. Yeah, hang on. Okay, we move on to the next 5. Yeah, F, G, H, I, J. Let me see if I can bring in the midpoint formula. Yeah, I can. Okay. Okay. So we start with F. It is 0, negative 2, divide by 2, 5, negative 1, divide by 2. So that's negative 2 over 2 and 4 over 2. So I got negative 1 and 2. Okay. So as you know, um, homework, you could say, or practice for you, I would suggest that you practice this worksheet um, on a graph paper. Plot the points, join the line segment, plot the midpoint, and then apply the formula. That way it will be visually appealing as well. Okay, G, you got negative 9 and 6 divide by 2, negative 4 minus 5 divide by 2. Yeah, so I got 3, negative 3 over 2, and negative 9 over 2, and that's about it. Yeah, H, negative 6 plus 0 divide by 2, negative 3 minus 2 divide by 2. So that's negative 6 over 2, negative 5 over 2, and that's negative 3 and negative 2.5. I, 0 plus 2 divide by 2, 4 plus 1 divide by 2. That's 2 over 2 and 5 over 2. So that's 1 and 2.5. Yeah. And finally, J. 5 plus 3 divide by 2, 3 plus 4 divide by 2. Yeah. Yeah. So that's 8 by 2 and 7 by 2. So that's 4 and 3.5. Done with question 1. Distance formula. So we'll have to find out the distance between the two endpoints given to us. So as usual, we'll first solve the first 5. Yeah. A. So we have distance is this formula. So root of x2 minus x1, so 3 minus 8. Remember, the order doesn't matter. Only for this, huh? Only for the midpoint and the distance formula, the order doesn't matter. That means if I take 3 minus 8, like 3 minus 8, and then instead of going 4 minus 9, I took minus 9 plus 4, yeah? It just doesn't matter. Understood? Yeah? So minus 9, it'll become minus 4. Minus 9, it'll become minus 4. Yeah? So 3 minus 8 and then minus 9, minus 4. So why it doesn't matter? Because it is getting squared at the end of the day. So therefore, this is root of 5 square, negative 5 square. Yeah? And that is root of, sorry, it is negative 13 square. The root is for the whole thing. So that is root of 25 plus 169, which is root of 5 and 9, 14, 2 and 6, 8 and 9, 194. That's your answer. B. Okay. So that is 4 minus 2, the whole thing squared, plus minus 8 minus 4, the whole thing squared. So that's equal to 2 square and negative 12, the whole thing squared. So that's 4 plus 144. So that's root of 148. Got it? Mm-hmm. Okay. C. 9 minus of minus 4. So remember, D is equal to 9 minus of minus 4. That is 9 plus 4. The whole thing squared plus 1 minus 0, the whole thing squared. So that's 1 square. Yeah. So that's root of 13 square plus 1 square, or simply 1. So that's root of 169 plus 1. So that's root of 170. D. D is root of 0 minus 2, the whole thing squared, plus 3 minus 0, the whole thing squared. So that's root of 2 square or minus 2 square and plus 3 square. So that's root of 4 plus 9. So that's root of 30. Easy. Yeah. So root of 13 is somewhere between 3 and 4, as in value between 3 square 9 and 4 square 16. So between 9 and 16, you know the value is going to be 3 point something. And finally, E. D is equal to, D is the distance, 0 minus 7, the whole thing squared, plus minus 4 minus 7, the whole thing squared. So that's negative 7, the whole thing squared, plus negative 11, the whole thing squared. So that's root of 49 plus 121, which is root of 50, 170. Yeah. So none of them was a perfect square, else we would have got a square root of a perfect square is always an integer. Okay. Next 5. Yeah. Starting with F. 0 minus of minus 2, 0 plus 2, the whole thing squared. Yeah. And 5 minus of minus 1 is 5 plus 1, the whole thing squared. which is equal to root of 2 square plus 6 square. That's root of 4 plus 36. That's root of 40. That's my answer for F. G. Just divide it. Yeah. G is -9, -6, the whole thing squared, plus -4, -4, and plus 5, because it's -4 and negative of -5, right? That's plus 5. So we have -15, the whole thing squared, plus 1, the whole thing squared. So that's root of 225 plus 1, root of 226. That's your G. H. So D is root of -6 -0, the whole thing squared. So it's -6, the whole thing squared, yeah. And -3 minus of -2. So that's -3 plus 2, the whole thing squared. And don't forget the plus in between. So that's root of 36 plus 1, -1, the whole thing squared, right? So that's root of 36 plus 1, 37. Yeah. Okay. And that's your H. I. So V is 0 minus 2, the whole thing squared. So that's -2 square. And 4 minus 1, the whole thing squared, which is 3 square. So that's 4 and 9, root of 13. And J. J is 5 minus 3, that is 2, the whole thing squared, plus 3 minus 4, 3 minus 4, the whole thing squared. So that's 4 plus -1, the whole thing squared. That's 4 plus 1, that's root of 5. And that was it. We are done with the first two questions, which are: find the midpoint of the line segment with the following endpoints, find the length of the line segment with the following endpoints. And the last question, question 3. So we just do it on screen out here. Yeah. Find the midpoint of side BC. So the midpoint of side BC is -1 plus 4 divided by 2, 5 plus 9 divided by 2. So we got 3 by 2 and 14 by 2. Yeah, so that is 1.5 and 7. And that's midpoint of BC. And the line and the length of side BC for the following triangle given below. So the distance of BC is -1 -4, the whole thing squared, plus 5 minus 9, the whole thing squared. So that's -5, the whole thing squared, plus -5, no, -4, the whole thing squared. So that's root of 25 plus 16, yeah, which is root of 41. That's the distance between the line segment or the side BC of the triangle given. So that's my answer. And with that, we're done with your elementary algebra, all the worksheets from A to Z. And I would recommend you to go in that order. Yeah. So that I think the last 5 to 6 worksheets, including linear inequality. So probably from T, 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 U, V, WXYZ. The last seven worksheets are lengthy, complex, difficult for this middle school level. Thank you very much. As usual, you can access the worksheets. The link is given in the video, the description of this video. Thank you.